Hi there, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Natasha. Welcome to my channel. This video is another installment in my products I've hit pan on series. Every time I hit pan on 10 new products in my collection, I decide to do an update video. I have an entire playlist probably with at least 10 videos like this that I've done over the years. Usually I try to have a good mix between face products and eyeshadows, but this time I only have one face product and then 10 eyeshadows to share with you. Let's get the face product out of the way. It's from Cover FX and it is their Sun-Kissed Bronzer, and this is one of the more cool tone bronzers that I own in my collection. This is only 0.35 ounces or 10 grams, and I feel like I hit pan on it very quickly, so for that reason alone I probably wouldn't purchase it again, but also I think I would prefer a different undertone in a bronzer in general. I wear this a lot in the winter when I'm at my palest, so it's fine, but it's not something I'll buy again once it's gone. Now for my first eyeshadow, it's from the Zoeva On Taupe palette, and it's the shade Hour by Hour. It's a really light pale pink shade, and the reason I hit pan on it is because I would mix it with Stitch by Stitch, which is a really white cream shade. I would mix them together and use that to set my eyeshadow primer. It took forever. I think both of these took 60 plus uses to hit pan, and I was using a lot each time because I was using it to cover my entire eyelid. I love this palette. I'm glad to have used it enough to show some progress, especially since I feel like the Zoeva ones take forever to hit pan on. Now I have some singles to talk about. I have 3 of them in this little quad here. The first one is Tarte Dark Seas, then we have Makeup Geek Hot Pants and Makeup Geek Petal Pusher. And Hot Pants and Dark Seas were in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, so I used them enough times until I hit pan, and then I rolled them out and rolled in new eyeshadows. And these are really pretty. I think Hot Pants works best when you use it wet or when you put it on the lower lash line, because I think it has a really interesting shift to it. It's got a purple base and a blue shift, and I think that looks best when you put it on your lower lash line. Tarte Dark Seas was really pretty too. I don't really wear a lot of blues or navy blues like that, and I think it was a little bit easier to work with because it's more of a satin formula instead of a straight up matte. And Petal Pusher from Makeup Geek was a shade that I just used up enough on its own to hit pan. It was a bonus pan outside of my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, and this is a really pretty cool toned purpley mauve type of shade, and it's perfect as a transition shade for me. I don't know if Makeup Geek still makes this shade, but there are plenty of other mauve shades like this out there. I know ColourPop just came out with a bunch of mauve palettes, and I think Buon Fresco from ABH is pretty similar as well. The next one is from my Smashbox Blada palette, and it is in the shade Nude Rose, and this took me way longer than I thought. It's a very soft formula. It does have a little bit of kick up whenever you use it, and for that reason I thought that I'd be able to hit pan on it pretty easily because I do use a lot as a crease color. But even so, it still took quite a lot of time, which is good because it's one of the only mattes in the palette. You have 2 mattes and then you have 6 shimmers in here, so I'm kind of glad that the matte took a long time to hit pan because I feel like I wouldn't want to go through it too quickly and then only have this dark brown as the only matte in the palette. Either way, it's a beautiful color, beautiful formula, and I'm really glad I snatched this when it was on sale about a year ago. Another one that took a long time is from the Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette, and it's in the shade Marvel, and I love the formula of these metallics. I'm wearing one of them on my lids today. I'm wearing Trance, which is easily one of my favorite metallic shades that I own. It's so pretty and it's so versatile, goes with so many different shades, and it just is so bright and metallic, and in person I think it looks really nice. Marvel was no different. I loved using it. I think it made such an impact and was really pretty, but because it is more of a creamy formula, almost kind of like putty, but not really, there's virtually no fallout. It's an incredibly creamy shade, and something about the formula is just very thick, and so it took forever to hit pan on, which I'm actually kind of glad because I don't want to go through these too quickly just because the formula is so amazing, and this is a limited edition palette. I do have a pan in my Modern Renaissance palette, and I'm getting very close to having pan in every single shade. The most recent shadow I hit pan on is here, Antique Bronze. This was one of my least used shades before I rolled it into my Pan Those Eyeshadows project. I had a little bit of a dip, but it had been so long since I'd worn it that I kind of forgot whether or not I liked it. It's got kind of a rosy undertone, and it's not too deep, so I would actually wear this all over the lid, in the crease, and on the lower lash line, and I think it looked beautiful. It quickly went from being one of my least used shades to being one of my favorite shades from the palette, so that's really nice. I love when stuff like that happens. I have 2 new pans from my Too Faced Bonbons palette, and the first one is Molasses Chip, which is this kind of mid-tone bronzy gold shade here, and then Divinity, which is this cream shade. Obviously Divinity I used to set my eyeshadow primer, and Molasses Chip was in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project. I'm so glad I'm getting to reach for this more. I have only had this for about half a year, so it's definitely one of my newer palettes, and I'm glad to have so much pan in here already. And I really appreciate the color story. I'm definitely one who prefers cool tones and more neutral eyeshadows. So I'm loving how much use I'm getting out of this palette. And the very last one is my 11th pan, and it's technically just an extra one because I did already declutter the palette, so I'm keeping it to show you the pan, but it's not a palette that I keep in my collection, and it's the e.l.f. Modern Metals palette, and I hit pan on the gold shade. These are not individually named, so I don't have a name to give you, but it's the second shade in the palette. I do like these shimmers for a very specific reason. They're nothing like the Tarte Make Believe in Yourself eyeshadows. Let me see if I can show you an example of the difference between the two. So I tried to pick 2 shades from each palette that are kind of similar. So the first one I'm going to show you is Trance by the Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette, and then the bronzy brown shimmer from the Modern Metals palette. And then I'll show you Marvel, which is the green shimmer from the Tarte palette, and then the green shade from the Modern Metals palette. But if you can see, like, the Tarte ones are definitely metallic, while the e.l.f. ones are kind of like satin metallics, and they just have a little bit less of an impact, which I think some people actually prefer, and I myself sometimes prefer as well, but I don't prefer it enough to actually keep the palette, so I did end up decluttering it. So those are all the pans I have to share with you. A little bit of a shorter video, which I don't think is a problem because I feel like my last couple of videos have been 20+ minutes long, which is not very much like me. Let me know if you've hit pan on anything exciting recently, but in the meantime, that's everything I have. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!